Chapter 9. The Confrontation at the Inn. The Blue Boar was the social heart of St. Mary Mead, a low-ceilinged building with crooked oak beams and the lingering scent of hops and wood smoke. At this hour it was filled with local tradesmen and farmers, a setting that suited Miss Marple's plan perfectly. Nancy and Miss Marple burst through the heavy front door, Mary Thompson following closely behind. Nancy placed the steel-bound case firmly on a stout oak table in the center of the room. "Stay here, Mary," Nancy said, her eyes fixed on the door. "Miss Marple, are you sure he'll follow?" "A man like Silas Grymes cannot help himself," Miss Marple said, calmly smoothing her skirts and taking a seat. "He has spent his life believing he is the smartest person in the room. To be outwitted by a girl and an old woman will be a blow his ego cannot sustain." Seconds later, the door swung open with a violent bang. Silas Grymes stood there, his face flushed a dark, angry purple. He was panting, his pinstripe suit torn by brambles. "Give it here," he bellowed, ignoring the startled silence of the pub's patrons. He strode toward their table, his hand outstretched. "That case is my property. These women are thieves." Nancy stepped in front of the table, her feet planted firmly. "This case belongs to Mary Thompson. It contains her father's legal documents you stole on the train today." Grymes laughed, a harsh graying sound. "You have no proof of that. I'm the rightful heir to the Grymes estate. That girl is an imposter, and those papers are forgeries she's used to try and blackmail me. Give it to me now, or I'll have the local constable put you both in a cell." The crowd in the pub began to murmur. Silas looked imposing, and his name carried weight in the county, but Miss Marple merely reached for her knitting. "Oh, Silas," she said gently, her needles beginning to click, "you always were a clumsy liar. You remind me so much of the old sexton, Mr. Gabbage. He once tried to claim the church's silver was stolen by a vagrant, forgetting that he was the only one with the key, and that he had a very distinct habit of polished silver dust under his fingernails." "What are you talking about, old woman?" Grymes snarled. "Nancy," Miss Marple said, not looking up from her wool, "check the side handle of the case, the one Silas grabbed when he snatched it in the tunnel." Nancy looked closely at the steel handle. Stuck in the hinge was a small, jagged piece of dark fabric. She pulled it free and held it up. It was a perfect match for the triangular tear in Silas Grymes' pinstripe sleeve. "And then there is the matter of the mud. The mud at the Manor Farm is a very specific gault clay, quite blue, really. It's only found in that one patch by the cellar. Your shoes, Silas, are covered in it, and unless you were planning on telling us you were down in the cellar doing the spring cleaning, I find it hard to explain." Grymes lunged for the case, but Nancy was faster. She used a wrestling maneuver she'd learned back in River Heights, grabbing his wrist and twisting it behind his back. "I wouldn't," Nancy warned, her voice cool and steady. Just then the bell over the door chimed again. A tall, burly man in a blue uniform entered, followed by a distinguished-looking man in a gray suit. "Dad!" Nancy cried. Carson Drew stepped forward, looking from his daughter to the pinned villain. "I got your telegram from the station office, Nancy, and I brought Inspector Slack from the local constabulary." "It seems we arrived just in time," Inspector Slack said, eyeing Grymes with distaste. "Mr. Grymes, we've been looking for you. It seems there are some questions regarding a forced entry on the Southern Railway line." As the inspector led a sputtering Silas Grymes away, Carson Drew walked over to the table. He looked at the steel-bound case, then at the two women. "I assume," Carson said with a smile, "that the evidence is intact?" "Safe and sound, Dad," Nancy said, finally letting out a breath. Miss Marple smiled at Nancy, a twinkle of genuine affection in her eyes. "Well done, Nancy. I do believe that was even more effective than the time we caught the choir director's wife with the missing hymnals."